Well, today we are down in our food forest area with a little bit of an update, and in addition we picked up one horseradish plant. So one horseradish plant will become more horseradish plants, and that's okay down here because if it wants to spread a bit, that just makes it that we have more to harvest if we decide we want some. So we're going to get that planted and then take a look at a few of the things that we've got down here transplanted and whatnot and see how they're doing. As you can see, being an old barrow pit, our soil is really sandy here, basically almost straight sand, which is good in some ways and not super fantastic in others, but that will make it a little easier to harvest horseradish roots. However, I've dug the hole a lot bigger than the plant because I am going to add some composted manure to this to help with moisture and give it a little bit of a start. Eventually it would be nice to be able to mulch everything and build some soil fertility in here, but this is a very, very long-term project, so we're just kind of working in small little steps. So there it is. We're going to water it and put a little bit of mulch around it just to help it keep some moisture in, but I'm fairly confident that it's going to do reasonably well here. This site gets kind of sun for most of the day, and then by the afternoon it's a little bit partially shaded, so it should like it here. But while we're down here, we're also going to move one of our rhubarb plants. So here's the rhubarb, and this came in kind of so-so shape. But one thing we noticed, we planted it on the hill, and these... Bad idea. Well, a little bit of a bad idea without terracing. These two at the bottom aren't too bad, this one and this one. But this little guy up here doesn't seem to be in the most optimal position. So we're actually going to move that one for the moment and probably put it over by the horseradish. So we're going to go ahead and dig that one up, and we're going to add some more manure mulch around these ones as well, just to keep giving them a bit of a start. Well, the big sort of dilemma down here, as you saw from the sand, is we've got excellent drainage, but if you don't get rain, nothing really wants to grow except for things that are pretty well established, like some of the bigger trees, which is why we're leaving them as kind of cover. Of course, they add organic matter too. So super long-term plan here, but we've done a few little mini changes to the rhubarb that I think will help. We moved the higher up one and took some of the sand from the hole we dug to put it in, and filled this hole back in again. We've already watered these once, which I know is a slippery slope, but we've added some compost mulch around them to just A, help retain some moisture, and B, give them some nutrients here. To be honest, they're not doing bad. Like I say, they came in pretty rough shape, so we'll see. And super makeshift terrace. A few logs at the bottom of the hill just to hold things back.
And that was the plan. We were going to build some rock retaining walls or use tires and get these kind of slopes terraced in because well, that was something we'd kind of been watching on Cliffside Permaculture there, about how she works her terraces on the cliff there. And I think that's something that we've got to keep in the forefront of our list, is getting out here and checking on these things and making sure you're adding more, because like you said, this was a pit. They took out all the good matter and we've got to put it back in now. So there's not a lot for this stuff to grow in if we don't have any rain. So,
but while we're down here, and kind of on that note, we'll take a look at some of the other things we've got going and see if they're doing better. So we're actually not too far. You can see the wheelbarrow. The bottom of that slope is where the rhubarb is. Up here we have 2 Toca Plums planted on sort of the top of the slope, and this one...
the goats took a good chunk out of last year.
But it looks like it's doing relatively decent.
They like both blossomed up really well, but I don't know if they got any... I
think the blossoms...
it was right when we got that cold snap and bad weather, so I don't know if
nothing on this one, but at the same time we've got lots of good growth on it, so that's good. And at the bottom...
I love lots of this lower growth because I'd like them to stay short so that we can harvest easily from them. So
it's doing quite well up here. Now we did apply a fair bit of straw mulch, and this is mojito mint that we planted around the base. And,
oh my gosh.
It's doing okay.
Smell. notes as I hand it to the camera.
Not as strong flavored as the
But that's spread
spearmint,
really
but
well. Survived really well.
it's growing. There's some there. There's some in front of me. So it's coming along, and we will come back. I mean, you can see outside of the area that we mulched, there's not much. It's pretty sandy, but so far this plum is doing quite well.
As we're walking to the second plum, we've got tons of wild grapes actually growing in the food forest. That
Riverbank grape.
Yeah, we're going to get a couple, T-posts and some wire fence and kind of train them up to it in places. You'll see up here they're going right across our path, unfortunately, which we are going to have to remove those. But
Or pull them back.
yeah, if we get some trellises for these guys. None of these ones look like they're going to have berries this year, but on the other side where we planted the mint, which we'll head after, there's tons of them covered in what's going to be blossoms. So
we've got quite a bit of older page wire that if we can get it in and get them up, they would actually probably produce pretty good, because grape jelly or wild grape jelly is pretty awesome.
But this area right here, in my mind, would be prime candidate for whether you did the tires on the bottom or whether we just got some rocks or logs. You could fill that up with some organic matter, and this will become quite a usable terrace as opposed to this steep sandy slope.
And we take out things like this European buckthorn.
Yeah.
That we haven't really come up here and done any work.
And the poplars won't all stay.
No, they will slowly come out as we transform it, but that's long term. So here's the second plum, and same thing, looks like all the blossoms got blasted by the frost, which is fine, because frankly it's probably better putting energy into growth and roots than it is fruit this year. But again, this one's looking like it's doing quite well. We've kind of started spreading things out quite a bit into different areas as we slowly modify them. And this is one of two areas where, I guess one of three areas actually.
We're going to have to get them marked.
Yeah, because here's
one.
Is one of our Saskatoon bushes, which they seem to really be loving up here. Like that tree or shrub, when we purchased it, was basically half dead. It was on discount along with all the rest of them up here. And we planted them last fall, and I would say that's got quite a bit of new growth on it. So these are really enjoying this location, I think. But they are all doing very well. And we did come back and do a bit of a mulch. Just a straw mulch around them. I think it's helped, at least keep down some of the competition. Another one.
You're joining us on our first peek at these ones.
They haven't really come up here much because, well, generally the Saskatoons do quite well on their own.
I'm operating on the food forest being a plant it and forget it. That's
for the most part, things
for right now, because nothing is at the fruiting stage that you're even going to harvest. Some of the Saskatoons we planted the first year we moved, like the fall when we moved in, they got enough berries that you could pick at them for just eating them right off the tree. But they won't, it's not like I'm going to have Saskatoons to make jam or jelly or anything. So these are kind of a forget it, but we should come back and just mulch them so we don't lose them. The idea was, I'm from Manitoba. Out west, Saskatoons are just everywhere, hedgerows, everything. And the idea was if we planted it in somewhere and you just forgot about it, they will spread and fill this whole area, and it will be beautiful. So that's kind of the plan with this part of the food forest. Again, as Chris, maybe he'll scan and show you, we're up on another ridge. That's our roadway there that needs to be cleared of trees, of sumacs and stuff. But we're up on another really big ridge of sand here. So this is the perfect, if you have a sandy spot, apparently the Saskatoons love it.
We don't have any problem with the sumac, but we are kind of picking and choosing some areas like this. You can see the sumacs over here, and then we basically, where we planted the Saskatoons, I kind of came in and cleared quite a few of the sumacs out last fall, just to give the Saskatoons sort of the space to grow. So we're slowly modifying things, but we're doing it in such a way that it's going to be a crazy long-term project. Well, and here's that tree we thought was a chokecherry, which it is a chokecherry. And it's already got fruit starting to develop, which is awesome. So this will be another priority. We probably won't...
There's another one behind, is it?
Another one over there?
No, this isn't. Oh no, that's one of your horrible things.
Yeah, it's a buckthorn. So
that's got to go.
Basically, next winter, when this is an area we want to tackle, we want to leave it as food forest. On the other side, you can kind of see through the trees. That's where our pastures start, in behind. We will come in here, and it's like trees like this. We'll clear around it to give it a chance, because we want those. Again, not that we have any problem with sumac, but if we can give a few things that are already sort of in place and growing that will produce us some fruit and berries and whatnot, we're going to do so. And there is quite a few shagbark hickories as well. That's something. There's another chokecherry over there. The shagbark hickories, there's quite a few younger ones, and we are going to try as much as we can to let them establish, although again, that's
without
crazy long term.
Without taking over.
Yeah, if they're on paths and things. As you can see, these Manitoba maples, they're serving their purpose for now, but long term we'd like to have them
make them
succeed to something better, more useful. It's like this little American elm. I guess we don't want to paint the image that we're coming in and modifying it quickly and radically to eradicate things. There are some species that are more beneficial to us in the short term, some that are more beneficial to us in the long term, and others, like this American elm, that I'm going to say it isn't likely to have a particularly bright and fantastic future. So possibly in its life it may become firewood for us or the kids or whoever. So this particular tree, for example, is not in a location that is an issue because it's growing on a slope. That'll help with the stability of the slope. It's not in an area that's going to outcompete anything, so we'll leave things like that. It's just when you get like that chokecherry back there that's kind of being outcompeted by some of the other plants around it, we are going to basically release that plant and others that we find so that like we say, they give us berries, so why not have them? And one thing that's kind of nice, this is not a project that's sort of starting completely from scratch. There is some species in here which are beneficial, such as this is bird's foot trefoil, which is growing kind of throughout, and there's red clover. Now of course these aren't native, but that's okay. I mean, they're basically so naturalized at this point they'll never go anywhere anyways. So the nice part of it is, of course, they are nitrogen fixers, so you're getting that benefit too. And like I say, these are kind of scattered throughout. I mean, there's another quite large bird's foot trefoil over there. So as we slowly modify and slowly change and slowly add mulches and manure compost and that sort of thing to target areas,